I never thought a Tuesday afternoon with nothing but the sound of my hammer against a fence post would blow up into the wildest neighborhood drama I've ever lived through. Seriously, you couldn't write this stuff if you tried. There I was, just me, a half-bent nail, and some stubborn wire, feeling like king of my own little patch of land. When I saw her, Priscilla Hawthorne Blackwell, our self-appointed neighborhood queen, hovering at the edge of Meadowbrook Estates, looking every bit the part with her hot pink clipboard and those bug-eyed sunglasses, even though it was cloudy enough to make a frog shiver. She had her phone aimed at my old pond like she was a detective about to break the case of the century, and I'll admit, the knot in my stomach started winding itself a little tighter because I recognized that look. A mix of righteous fury and "I caught you" that never ended well for anybody within shouting distance. Now, Priscilla's never been subtle about her community standards. I once watched her document a barbecue for alleged smoke violations, so the sight of her peering over her landscaping boulder with those opera glasses, yeah, not even normal binoculars, opera glasses, was less shocking than it should have been, but it still made me snort. She looked like a character from a cartoon about HOA tyranny. But what really got me was the focus of her surveillance. My pond, the exact spot where, 10 years ago, I taught my son Tyler how to cast a line. Back then, he could barely lift the rod, let alone catch anything. But now he's off at college making my old engineering degree feel like a coloring book, coming home on weekends to work on environmental science projects. That day, Tyler was out there with a new face, a big guy, bald as a cue ball, covered in tattoos, rocking a black tank top, like he was auditioning for a biker movie. But instead of raising hell, he was crouched in the grass next to my kid, lining up little glass vials and some fancy electronic doodads. They were moving along the shoreline, measuring, talking, Tyler scribbling away in his notebook, looking more animated than I'd seen him in a while. The big guy, who I later learned was Jake Morrison, had that careful, precise way about him. Ex-military, as it turned out, always keeping an eye on the equipment, watching the water, never missing a detail. From my fence, it looked harmless, just two science nerds geeking out. But Priscilla was getting herself worked into a lather, ducking and weaving behind her boulder, snapping pictures like she was filming a true crime special. Here's the thing. Priscilla never lets a molehill go unmountained. She's the same woman who called code enforcement on the Hendersons for aggressive dandelions, tried to get the county to shut down Mrs. Chin's herb garden, and has filed more official complaints than the IRS. That day, I watched her dial her phone, step back, and launch into what looked like a Broadway-worthy performance for whatever poor soul picked up. Arms waving, voice rising, clipboard flashing, like she was reporting an invasion, not a couple of kids doing homework by the water. The way she carried on, I knew this was about to get out of hand. Now, Tyler's always been a good kid, honor roll, never in trouble, working on this big environmental research project that could land him a scholarship. But Priscilla wasn't seeing a kid and his mentor. She was seeing trespassers, unknown individuals, and potential criminal activity. It was all over her face. And after 3 years of petty drama over chickens, garden height, and the offensive wildflowers I let grow along the fence line, I could see she was in full crisis mode. 20 minutes after her first phone call, she was back at it, pacing, clutching her phone, looking for all the world like she was reporting a 4-alarm fire instead of, science. Then I saw her dig into her car for a manila folder and start reading from it. Notes, documentation, maybe even a pre-written complaint or two. Priscilla plays the long game. I realized she wasn't just documenting the scene. She was building a case, prepping for some kind of HOA prosecution. Sure enough, as I watched her dial her way through every authority she could think of, the tension in my chest started growing. I knew from experience, when Priscilla starts calling in reinforcements, the outcome isn't about reason, it's about escalation. That's when the police cruiser rolled up, blue lights flashing, the young officer stepping out like he was about to serve a warrant. Officer Cruz, fresh-faced and probably younger than Tyler, walked the property with the sort of practiced caution that said he'd been briefed on potentially dangerous individuals. I watched as he approached the pond, eyes on Tyler and Jake, hand never far from his radio. My son looked up, panic, confusion, the whole "what did I do?" written across his face. Jake, cool as a cucumber, stood up slow, hands visible, and gave the officer the full professional rundown. Who they were, what they were doing, permits and documentation ready to go. I hustled outside, sandwich still in hand, flamingo apron on, don't laugh. Sometimes life won't wait for wardrobe changes, and introduced myself as the property owner. Tyler explained everything. How Jake, a former Navy SEAL and now a Marine ecologist, was mentoring him through the university's research program. Jake handed over a stack of paperwork, military discharge, PhD, permits, all laminated and organized like he was expecting this exact moment. Officer Cruz flipped through the documents, eyebrows climbing, his attitude shifting from suspicious to curious. "This all checks out," he said, finally letting out a breath. But just as the tension eased, his radio crackled, another patrol car en route. "You know what I mean? That's Priscilla's style. If one official doesn't do the job, she'll call 3 more until someone bites." Sure enough, Officer Williams showed up, older, sharper, instantly reading the room. She asked Cruz what was going on, then turned to Priscilla, who'd finally crossed the property line to make her case in person, pink clipboard brandished like a weapon. "Ma'am, can you show me the specific statute giving HOA jurisdiction over university research on private land?" Williams asked, her voice dry enough to sandwood. Priscilla, undeterred, launched into her legal theories, waving her phone and some HOA document that looked official until Maggie Chambers, sweetest neighbor in the county, and as it turned out, a retired property lawyer, stepped up with a plate of cookies and casually demolished every argument Priscilla had. "You've got no legal standing here," Maggie said, sweet as pie but firm enough to make Priscilla's cheeks go pink. Williams, seeing the writing on the wall, told Priscilla she needed actual laws, not opinions. But Priscilla doubled down, threatening to file county-level environmental complaints for unlicensed research. As she put the county office on speaker, describing unknown chemicals and hazards, the rest of us just watched, half amused, half horrified, as the representative patiently walked her in circles with basic questions she couldn't answer. Jake, ever the professional, suggested calling Tyler's faculty advisor directly. Dr. Martinez answered, confirmed everything, and threw in some glowing praise about the project's importance, Tyler beaming like he'd just won the Nobel Prize. Even Cruz seemed impressed, and the neighbors, who'd started gathering, because nothing draws a crowd like police lights and Priscilla yelling, started murmuring support for Tyler and Jake. Mrs. Patterson, unofficial neighborhood watch and veteran complainer herself, muttered, "Crying wolf," under her breath, loud enough for everyone to hear. But Priscilla, true to form, wouldn't quit. "Explain why this man's military background makes us feel unsafe," she demanded, pointing at Jake, who responded so calmly, I almost teared up. "Ma'am, I served 3 tours so people like you could voice your opinions. I'm here now helping your community understand and protect the environment. If that's a problem for you, maybe the issue isn't my presence." You could hear a pin drop. Then Mrs. Patterson jumped in, scolding Priscilla for disrespecting a veteran, and suddenly the whole mood shifted. Years of pent-up frustration spilled out. Neighbors started sharing their own stories of Priscilla's harassment, her endless complaints, her petty power games. That's when the county environmental inspector arrived, a no-nonsense guy named Rodriguez. He reviewed everything, Tyler's notes, Jake's permits, the water samples, and announced, to everyone's relief, that not only was the research above board, but it was actually identifying chemical pollution in the watershed originating from Priscilla's own HOA, thanks to all those mandatory lawn treatments. The irony was delicious. Rodriguez explained how their data could help the county tackle real environmental threats, and even recommended Tyler for a fellowship program. Priscilla, meanwhile, went into meltdown mode, streaming live on Facebook about environmental conspiracies and attacks on property rights, her audience growing by the minute, mostly to laugh at her expense. And just when you thought she couldn't dig herself deeper, her infamous pink clipboard burst open, scattering a pile of evidence across my yard, including a fake violation notice with tomorrow's date. Maggie, the retired lawyer, exposed it on camera as a complete forgery. Wrong letterhead, wrong statute, fake department. Priscilla's face went white, and just to pile on, Jake produced trail cam footage showing her trespassing on my property at night, trying to stage suspicious photos for her complaints. The whole neighborhood saw it, including the HOA board, which voted her out that evening in a meeting so fast it made her head spin. By sunrise, someone had zip-tied a pink clipboard to the HOA welcome sign with "We Science Here" in spray paint underneath. But just as we were high-fiving each other for justice served, Jake pulled me aside, grave as a judge, and told me the truth. This wasn't just about lawn chemicals. He'd been sent by his old commanding officer to investigate illegal dumping by Apex Industries, a waste company using neighborhoods like ours to cover up toxic pollution. Tyler's research wasn't just college credit. It was the missing piece to a criminal case. And as he spoke, a white panel van with Apex plates rolled by slow for the third time that day. That's where we're at, folks. The HOA tyrant's empire collapsed, but a bigger storm's brewing. Real crimes, real danger, and my family caught smack in the middle. Sometimes the people waving clipboards are just a distraction from what's really poisoning your backyard. Now, let's open it up. Do you think Priscilla deserved her downfall? Who's really responsible when a whole community gets gaslit by one power-hungry neighbor? Drop your take in the comments, right or wrong. Where's the line between protecting your turf and ruining your neighbors? And if you stuck with me through this saga, share it with a friend, because trust me, next time, the drama won't just be suburban. It might just be criminal.